Warning signs of satanic behavior may be apparent.
Is connected to devil worship. That's the focus tonight of Lonnie Lardner's special report on Satanism. But we want to warn you now that some things you're about to see and hear might be too graphic for children.
I love a good heel. Randy Orton to Triple H, the Nexus to John Cena, Vince McMahon to the entirety of the WWE.
Keep it up, I'm a nigga.
All fantastic in terms of providing someone everyone can hate. But in the 80s, America needed to band together against a new threat. Not a wrestling heel, but an idea of an enemy that was cultivated by the violent 70s and spawned a massive witch hunt that would last for an entire decade. Friends and enemies, I'm talking about Satanic Panic. A case of mass hysteria that involves false reports of people being physically and sexually abused through the use of satanic rituals. But how did America get to a point where teens were accused of ritualistic sacrifice and teachers were accused of sexual deviance? It all starts with the perfect storm. Okay, wait. Before you go on, I just have to say some of the things I talk about may be triggering or disturbing to some people. So if you think something might get to you, please check the description. All right, with that out of the way, back to your regularly scheduled programming. As I said before, the 70s were a violent and dangerous time. I mean, well, so were the 80s, but the 70s were far worse. Countless serial killers like Bundy, Dahmer, and Berkowitz ran rampant. Children pretty much raised themselves, and soldiers from Vietnam started to return home after seeing the horrors of war. Needless to say, the country wasn't doing too hot. It didn't help that more women than ever started to join the workforce at the beginning of the 80s. You know what? That came out wrong. Let me clarify. I'm not saying women shouldn't work. I'm saying no one was there to raise the kids.
What do you mean by that?
No, wait. I didn't mean it like that either. I swear. I'm not a misogynist. I swear. I'm just saying since no one was home, no one could raise the kids, so they had to put them in daycare. Okay, that's all I'm saying.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
Most parents felt guilty for putting their kids in daycare instead of having enough time to raise them themselves. Every parent feared for their children, and people started to take sexual crimes more seriously than they ever had before. With all this fear and all these big changes, something had to change. America needed to fix things. We needed to make America great again. And by great again, I mean conservative and extremely prejudiced of anyone who was different. All these things together formed a powder keg that would be ignited by a book published in 1980 called Michelle Remembers. When it came out, it released this huge wave of mass hysteria that would affect multiple individuals for decades. Michelle Remembers is a book written by a psychologist about the title character and his wife, Michelle, who experiences ritualistic abuse as young as the age of 5. She claims that she was forced to participate in an 81-day ritual where she was locked in cages, tortured, sexually abused, and covered in the blood of both adults and infants. Michelle says that the ritual was supposed to summon Satan, but that luckily she was saved by Jesus, the Virgin Mary, and the Archangel Michael, who healed her wounds and erased her memory. 20 years later, her psychologist and husband used a discredited medical practice called recovered memory therapy to uncover the repressed memories. I don't know why you would want to remember something so traumatic that happened to you in the past, but maybe she just wanted power over it. Maybe it was some other reason. Maybe she wanted to sell the story. I have no idea. I'm never one to discredit a victim of abuse, but there was absolutely no proof of her claims, and researchers only had more questions than answers whenever she started to tell them what happened. Like, why was Michelle's mother, who died in 1964, the only suspect she could identify? And if Michelle had been experiencing ritual abuse for that long, why hadn't her two sisters known anything about it? Or why in those 81 days she still had perfect attendance and didn't miss a single day of school? Now, I'm no ritual expert, but I would think a ritual to summon Satan would feel like more than just an errand you had to run. Just imagine how much time and effort that would take. Lighting the candles, drawing the circles, finding the human sacrifices. That is not easy work. And the last time Satan even considered a union was back when he saw the way that Triangle Shirt Factory fire was handled. I don't think they would let her attend school if she was being physically abused. Well, at least if it's as bad as she said it was. They would see the marks and they would probably assume the worst. Now, Michelle and her husband didn't really make any accusations against anybody specific besides her mother when it came to ritualistic abuse, but other people did. In 1983, Judy Johnson told police that a doctor believed her 2-year-old son had been sodomized, and when she asked him, her son told her that it was a teacher at McMartin Preschool named Mr. Ray. The following month, Mr. Ray was arrested, and police sent out over 200 letters to parents of the students of the school asking them if their children had been witnesses or victims of a crime. Now, this in theory is an amazing idea, trying to see if anybody else has gone through this type of thing. Where they messed up, though, is naming Mr. Ray specifically in that letter. I'm guessing, most of you have met a child, and as you know, children are susceptible to coercion. So when you give them information and ask leading questions, they're going to tell you exactly what you want to hear. And that's exactly what they did. They took them to a children's therapy center, they asked leading questions, and they convinced them to make untrue statements. They called one kid who denied the abuse a scaredy cat, and they told another that the other kids have already shared all their yucky secrets. I don't know about you, but to me, that sounds like coercion. After interviewing 400 children, They concluded that 360 of them had been abused and 6 teachers had been doing it, including Mr. Ray, his sister, and his mother. So obviously we have a high-profile case with multiple children and multiple abusers involved, but how does Satanism get involved? Well, some of the kids that they were interviewing had mentioned they were being abused in secret tunnels under the school. And just like Michelle, one of them had mentioned a baby being sacrificed. Some of the other things they mentioned happened to them were being taken to a graveyard and unearthing a body, watching teachers kill rabbits and turtles, and watching a teacher fly around in a broom dressed like a witch. Now, what prankster included that last one? Flying in the air? Fair. I'll give it to you. But dressed like a witch? Isn't that like putting a hat on a hat? Isn't it a bit much? Now, you can't tell me if your teacher dressed up like a witch and started flying around in a broom, you wouldn't think it was awesome. And narking on them would be the last thing you would do. Okay, on a more serious note, in addition to the 6 teachers, they also indicted Mr. Ray's 76-year-old grandmother who founded the school. And yes, I said indicted. The 7 actually had a court date set for 1968 and had a combined total of 208 counts of sexual abuse. Though just 2 weeks later, the district attorney had said there was not enough evidence for the case and dropped all the charges against everyone except Mr. Ray and his mother. The trial went from 1987 to 1990, and they were found not guilty on 52 accounts. They still had a remaining 12 counts of molestation, and the jury deadlocked, which caused the judge to call a mistrial. But because of the pressure from parents, prosecutors decided to try Mr. Ray again on 8 of those counts. And can you guess what happened? The jury deadlocked again! So all of this was pointless. They spent 7 years and $15 million to accuse 7 people of one of the worst crimes imaginable multiple times. Not to mention, Mr. Ray and his mother spent a combined total of 7 years in prison, with Mr. Ray serving 5 and his mother serving 2. Though I will say, they did get some archaeologists to go see if there were tunnels underneath the school, and they did say that they existed. I don't know. Maybe there's some truth to what those kids were saying. Maybe something nefarious actually was going on underneath that school. Nah, I'm just playing. The archaeologists just said those are trash bits from the past. The kids probably brought up the tunnels because there's probably like a rumor that there was a monster down there or something. As bad as all these cases and claims were, nobody was better at fear-mongering and spreading more terror than the media. Movies were a huge part of Satanic Panic. Rosemary's Baby, The Omen, and probably one of the biggest movies of all time, The Exorcist, are what reporters referenced when they were talking about Satanism. Everyone was saying that it was the scariest movie around, and that 10 people would either pass out or get sick at every single showing. Even if it was released today with more current special effects, it wouldn't have the chokehold on people like it had in the 70s. At that point, people had seen zombies, vampires, and werewolves, but The Exorcist had introduced them to demonic possession and asked a terrifying question. Are you right with your God? There are unseen evil forces in this world, and if you are not right with your God, they will force you to commit unimaginable acts. That is the idea that sparked so much fear when The Exorcist came out in 1973. And after it did, parents were terrified of their kids joining cults or being possessed or worshiping Satan. Let me just read you some of these symptoms of satanic behavior here. Having an attitude, a decline in academic performance, listening to metal music, playing Dungeons and Dragons, smoking weed. Now, I wonder what demographic engages in most, if not all, of these things. This was simply America's way to try to control young people, while also getting a high viewership from scared parents who watch the news. People don't like happy stories. They're boring. People like excitement. And nothing is more exciting than watching your teenager jump into something you deem as evil. But in my opinion, almost nothing is more evil than a disgusting reporter without morals. Whether it's in the 80s or right now, you could turn on the TV and see Geraldo Rivera making blatant lies and calling people criminals. If you don't know who he is from his career in journalism, Kendrick sampled his voice and used it on his song DNA.
Not helpful at all. This is why I say that hip-hop has done more damage to young African Americans than racism in recent years.
You see, back in 1988, Jerry hosted a 2-hour special called Devil Worship, Exposing Satan's Underground. He looked into some occult crimes, talked to some Satanists, and even talked to Ozzy Osbourne himself. You can find it on YouTube. And as judgmental as it is, it's extremely interesting to see how they paint Satanism at that time period. I will say, he actually had a lot of interesting guests on the special. I know I already mentioned Ozzy, but he also had Zena LaVey, who's the daughter of Anton LaVey, the writer of the Satanic Bible, a priest from the Temple of Set, a police officer, and a Catholic priest. Honestly, if he had sparked genuine conversation between all of them and had a dialogue, that would have been an amazing piece of journalism. Sadly, instead, he just asked leading questions and cut people off. After that, he goes on to talk to multiple child killers. That's children who are killers. They all say that they did it for Satan. But at the same time, he's making it seem like that's the only reason that they killed people. As if normal teens don't commit murder every day. We just had a teenager shoot up another school. It's really hard for me not to see the parallels between the Satanic Panic and the whole woke mob thing. There are lots of claims like drag queens are pedophiles, that immigrants are criminals, or that
they're eating the dogs.
Has someone actually eaten a dog in Springfield? No, probably not. But the fact that it's out there and that someone probably believes it creates more problems for immigrants. Misinformation is a dangerous tool used by the media, and let's be honest, the government, to control people and get them to do what they want. Don't fall for it. Do your research. Don't put yourself in an echo chamber and have conversations with people who disagree with you. Or don't. I'm not your parent. Do what you want. Satanic Panic and Satanism are very interesting to me because Satanism isn't even evil. You don't even worship a deity. I'd say it's closer to a form of atheism that has morals very similar to other religions. It's actually on my list of things I want to make a video about, but we'll save that for another day. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please like and subscribe. If you want to follow me or see what else I'm working on or tell me what stuff you want to see, look down below. My link tree's in the description. I hope you guys have a happy morning, evening, night, whatever time it is for you. I'll see you guys in the next one.